to Israel and that Israel cannot defeat. Just very important to understand that. They have not defeated Hamas. They are not going to defeat Hamas. And they have not gotten the hostages back as well. And again, they have not cleansed Gaza.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a little step back and listening to a talk from none other than Professor John Mearsheimer, an expert and intellectual heavyweight in global politics. The topic: Gaza and its global implications. Professor John does a fantastic job in explaining what's actually going on in the Middle East. Let's get straight into it.
So I want to switch gears now and move to the second part of my talk. And I want to talk about sort of what's been going on in the Middle East and where things are headed. It's commonplace in the West, certainly in the United States, to argue that all of the trouble that is now happening in the Middle East is due to Iran. Iran is the master puppeteer, and groups like Hamas and Hezbollah basically follow whatever Iran tells them to do. I think this view is dead wrong. I'm not arguing that Iran doesn't cause any trouble in the Middle East, but the principal country, or the country that is principally responsible for the trouble in the Middle East today, is not Iran, it is Israel. And to understand what Israel is up to and to think about the trouble that is now taking place in the Middle East, it's important to understand that there are three conflicts which are not completely independent of each other, but three different conflicts that have to be analyzed on their own. One is the genocide involving Hamas, and more generally, the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. Number two, the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. And number three, the conflict between Iran and Israel and the United States. Those three conflicts have to be assessed. Let me start with the genocide in Gaza and talk about what is going on there. Israel is an apartheid state. It's probably better to talk about Greater Israel rather than just Israel. Greater Israel, as you all know, includes Green Line Israel, the Israel that was created after the 1948 war. It includes Gaza, and it includes the West Bank. And Greater Israel is an apartheid state. For anybody who has any doubts about that, there were three major reports that were written by three of the most important human rights groups in the world, Amnesty International, B'Tselem, and one other whose name escapes me at the moment, Human Rights Watch. And all three of them have written lengthy reports detailing the fact that Israel is an apartheid state. And what happened on October 7th caused the Israelis to pursue two particular goals vis-a-vis Hamas. Number one, they committed to defeating Hamas. Number two, they committed to getting the hostages back. And people talk about these two goals all the time. The one goal that's not talked about, which is of central importance for the Israelis, is to cleanse Gaza.
A few minutes into it, and Professor John has us all sitting on the edge of our seats. Firstly, he clearly states the sole country responsible for the troubles in the Middle East is Israel. They've directly attacked at least 4 other countries just in the last 12 months. Professor John clearly outlines the main purpose of Greater Israel, creating a Jewish state. To do this, they must drive people out of the land. To do this, they must make it inhabitable for those people currently living in those lands. To drive them out, they must result in, let's say, inhumane methods.
The Israelis, who recognize full well that Greater Israel is an apartheid state, would like to put an end to that apartheid state, and they'd like to put an end to that apartheid state by driving the Palestinians out of Gaza and driving the Palestinians out of the West Bank and creating a largely homogeneous Jewish state. That's the basic goal. And they see what's going on in Gaza in the wake of October 7th as an opportunity to cleanse Gaza. The basic operating assumption was, to begin with, that by killing a significant number of Palestinians and effectively making Gaza unlivable, the Palestinians would leave. Of course, that has not happened, despite the fact that many Palestinians were killed and Gaza was made to be unlivable. The Palestinians did not leave. So ethnic cleansing has not worked. But in the process, what has happened is that that Israel killing machine has reached the point where it is, in effect, executing a genocide in Gaza. And that is what is taking place now. Now, not only have the Palestinians not left, not only have the Palestinians not been cleansed, but Israel has not defeated Hamas. Hamas is still effectively functioning as a combat organization that is a threat to Israel and that Israel cannot defeat. Just very important to understand that. They have not defeated Hamas. They are not going to defeat Hamas. And they have not gotten the hostages back as well. And again, they have not cleansed Gaza.
The Israelis have been unsuccessful. IDF have been unsuccessful. Netanyahu has been unsuccessful. I don't know about you, but it does feel good to say that. They have the superpower of the United States behind them, all the military ammunition. They've flattened almost the entire country, yet they've achieved very little.
What about Hezbollah? As you all know, Hezbollah, shortly after October 7th, began to fire rockets and missiles at northern Israel. This resulted in roughly 100,000 Israelis who live in the northern part of Israel moving south to get out of the way of those rockets and missiles. As best I can tell, there are still about 60,000 Israelis who have not gone back to their homes in the north and very much want to. The Israelis, therefore, are deeply committed to trying to put an end to the rockets and missiles that Hezbollah is firing into northern Israel. And the Israelis are pursuing three policies in pursuit of defeating Hezbollah and effectively putting an end to that rocket and missile fire. First of all, they're pursuing a decapitation strategy, which is where they try to kill the leadership of Hezbollah, and they, of course, have been somewhat successful on that front so far. Secondly, they're committed to punishing the civilian population in Lebanon, which basically means killing large numbers of civilians. And then third, they have decided to invade southern Lebanon for the purposes of directly engaging with Hezbollah forces and defeating Hezbollah forces. We have a rich literature in international relations which shows that decapitation strategies do not work. And of course, as you all know, the Israelis have been killing the leaders of various Arab groups over the years, and those decapitation strikes, even though they were effective, have not changed the course of events in any meaningful way. So a decapitation strategy that takes out Nasrallah is not going to matter in the end. Furthermore, we have a rich literature in international relations that shows that inflicting massive punishment on civilian populations hardly ever results in a government or an organization changing its policies. We know this from the bombing of Germany and the bombing of Japan in World War II. So the idea that by killing civilians from the air in Lebanon, you're going to bring Hezbollah to its knees is wrong-headed. And then finally, the third element of the Israeli strategy is to invade southern Lebanon. that's not going to work either. They tried it in 2006, they tried it in 1982, and in both cases they failed, and they're going to fail here. What am I telling you? The end result is that Hezbollah is going to remain a formidable adversary of Israel for the foreseeable future, and it's going to maintain the capability to lob rockets and missiles into northern Israel, which is a huge problem for Israel. So what I'm telling you so far is the Israelis have not defeated Hamas. They have not been able to ethnically cleanse Gaza, and they are not going to defeat Hezbollah. This means these two conflicts are going to go on for a long, long time.
I could listen to this man all day, pure intelligence and huge amounts of knowledge. He clearly defines the Israeli agenda and systematically breaks them down using well-constructed examples. What Professor John is pointing to is that although the media portrays little victories for Israel, history has proven that these achievements mean very little, and Israel's problems are going to continue into the long foreseeable future. Stay tuned for part 2, which I'll be releasing soon. Support me by liking and subscribing, share your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll see you on my next video. Peace out.